Let's talk about tone of voice. There are so many elements to tone of voice. We're going to focus on the most significant to help you become a more impactful and confident communicator. Instinctually, we adapt our tone of voice to the person or situation. Sometimes we get it wrong, and that invites a total disconnect with our audience. Imagine, if you will, the voice of Darth Vader being done by Michael Jackson or Mike Tyson. It wouldn't carry the same weight or dread. Why? Because the tone doesn't align with the persona and the message. There's a disconnect, making it not believable. Great communicators leverage tone of voice and the subheadings such as volume, speed, intensity, pitch, all to magnify the power and clarity of their message. If you want to communicate energy and excitement, for example, then your pitch will likely be higher. You might even increase the volume. If you want to evoke mystery and intrigue, you might lower the pitch, perhaps turning the volume into almost a whisper. During conflict resolution, raising the volume of your voice would absolutely defeat the objective. You'd want to lower your voice, perhaps even slowing down the tempo to incite calm. Great communicators adapt to their audience and the situation. If you encounter a very soft-spoken person who's sharing a sad story, it may not be advisable to introduce yourself with a loud, high, energetic tone of voice. Remember the word mirroring? It also applies to our tone of voice. Adapt and mirror the person or audience without compromising the essence of who you are and what you are trying to communicate. Speaking fast can be about being nervous. It sounds like you're nervous and not confident. Too slow can become rather boring. Also, take cultural backgrounds into consideration. Case in point, Americans in general tend to be more direct and assertive with their tone compared to the English or the Canadians. Without stereotyping too much, the English can be very polite, often ending their sentences on an upward inflection, making it sound like a question or a request for permission. Canadians can be very apologetic, and for some European countries, the assertiveness of Americans can be interpreted as loud and arrogant. A humorous example of the differences through culture in terms of tone of voice and linguistics is, let's take Australian, for example. Indulge me here, allow me to be a bit silly to make a point. Australians have a very high energy, optimistic rhythm and tone of voice. And I borrowed this Australian imitation from comedian Trevor Noah. No matter what Australians say, it always sounds upbeat. Think Steve Irwin arriving at a funeral. Hey, I hear your mother died. Crikey! That tone of voice, though authentic, doesn't necessarily align with the emotional situation at a funeral. Tone of voice is incredibly impactful in everyday life. You really want to leverage all the communication tips to make sure that your message is delivered in a clear, concise, impactful, and assertive way. You'll want to sound confident and in control. Another way to do it is to end your sentences on a slightly downward emphasis so that it doesn't sound like a question, but an assertive statement. For example, I need you to get that by tomorrow. It's not rude, it's not condescending, it's respectful, but it is firm with a slight downward inflection. The British polite version might sound something like this. I need you to get that to me by tomorrow. It doesn't have the same strength. It's a nuance, but it's different. The best way to go about your various means of communication is to leverage emotional intelligence to know which tone of voice will optimize the outcome. For example, if you're holding a meeting as a leader, your tone of voice at the beginning of the meeting will set the tone. Is it a fun brainstorming type of meeting where you want everybody to be motivated to share ideas? Then maybe you'd start the meeting with a tone of voice that reflects the objective. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. If it's a more introspective, analytical meeting evaluating some recent faux pas, good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to be here. As most of you are aware, there will be some significant changes in personnel due to the merger. As I've mentioned many times, become highly aware of what works best for the specific situation that you find yourself in. Hey, I hear your mother died! Here's your challenge. What I'd like you to do for the following 7 days is to make a concerted effort to raise your awareness of what your tone of voice is communicating, when and with who. Adjust accordingly.